Hi, this is Kurt Johnson doing a Mindful Monday from Shawbucks, downtown Jamestown, New York, on Chautauqua Lake. You can't be happy all week if you don't start on Monday. Should you choose to be happy, life is choice. This week, something very exciting to me is happening. We're actually going to publish my book that you can see on the TV, Lone Star Rising, The Energy Within Me, Choosing Love Over Fear. That's been the topic of all my Mindful Mondays since 2017 or 18 when I started doing Mindful Mondays to kind of tell about my spiritual awakening I had down in Texas in 1985, which actually turned my life upside down for a year. And all these talks I've done on experiential philosophy, harmetics, is analog binary harmetics, and the languages of fear and love creating movement is all based off of this Texas experience. So this is a very short book, only 100 pages. Dr. Ralph Walton, MD, the psychiatrist I saw 40 years ago, when he read it, responded with a one-liner, "Beautiful little book." So after he wrote that, I followed up with him because I had a lot of questions of what happened to me in Texas. And actually, Dr. Walton and I became friends again back in 2015, actually, which was 30 years after my Texas experience. I was having lunch with a friend of mine, Greg Peterson, who everyone locally knows as an attorney and the co-founder of the Robert H. Jackson Center. He and I were having lunch, and I'm always pitching this Mindful Eatery Project. And so Greg knew that, and as we're having lunch, he goes, "Kurt, I'm interviewing this doctor that was on 60 Minutes. I don't know him, and I haven't met him, and I like doing my interviews that way, but you should come out." And I think it was like February, March. The weather was terrible. There's no reason I should have been going out. And I remember my wife being upset with me that I was going to Chautauqua Institution to watch this interview, and I had no idea what it was about. So here I am. I travel out, say hi to Greg. The interview starts, and there was maybe 20 of us in the room. And about 10, 15 minutes into the interview, he was asking Dr. Walton questions about, why he got into psychiatry after being an MD. They talked about his childhood, escaping Germany right before all hell broke loose, and being raised as a young child in America. And as he was in the interview, and he said, "Well, why did you decide to become a psychiatrist?" And he said, "Just because I was interested in human behavior." At that moment, I loved the guy. Like, for 30 years before that, I hated him because when I came back from Texas, I was a mess. He wouldn't remember me from them. I realized that. But I just was so over-medicated, I lost a year of my life, so I kind of hated everyone, hated the system. And now all of a sudden, I'm watching Greg Peterson interview him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And so after the interview, I asked Dr. Walton if I could buy him lunch sometime, and I mentioned I own Shawbucks, and he's like, "Oh, we love Shawbucks. I'm on a bowling league in Chautauqua, and we usually, have dinner at Shawbucks." So we hit it off, and we followed up with a few conversations. Then, I was really working hard to write my book. So 2018, I had Gavin Peternitti, that was a musician at Shawbucks, but also a writer for the Post Journal. I wrote the Texas story out in detail, and Gavin edited it. So, and I got it somewhat there, and then COVID hit and life happens and I get busy, and I actually was writing 10 books at one time. And thank God, like a year ago, Maria Kimberg looked at all my writings and she says, "Well, like most first-time writers, you're writing more than one book at once." And she pulled out my Texas experience, and she said, "This is it. This is your book. It's short, but who cares? It tells your story where everything begins." So for the last year, I've been working on that and building Shawbucks and the deck out front. And last time in 2012, when I remodeled Shawbucks to go after the Mindful Eatery Project, I was starting to write my book then and wanted to tell why food, thought, and environment was so important. And I figured I was writing the handbook for the Mindful Eatery with putting all my stories into one book. So one thing led to another, and here I am in the middle of this major project at Shawbucks, putting a 4-story deck on. And I remember July, I just got done painting the decks. It was too hot to work outside and everything. And I stopped working. I'm like, if I don't finish this book before I finish the project, it's gonna go nowhere. Just like what happened to me in 2015. So today's March 30th. Tomorrow is Shawbucks' 31st anniversary on March 31st. And we're probably gonna start printing it tomorrow, and the book will be available this week. But going full circle back around to the story I was talking about, I reconnected with Ralph after I finished my book early this year, and I asked him if he'd have another look, and that's when he said, beautiful little book. So obviously I'd ask him more questions. So I set up a meeting with Ralph that I could go up to his house, and we sat in his study, and I was hoping just a hour conversation. People that know me, all of a sudden 3 hours go by, and we had this deep, meaningful conversation, and it led into the question that I finally asked him at the end of the conversation. I'm like, Ralph, like, you're one of the few people that get what I'm trying to say when I say analog binary language of hermetics. And you're a psychiatrist, and you're impressed by the fact that I don't look at emotions as disorders. I look at them as data, information, and a language. I said, would you be kind enough to write a foreword? And he said he did. So thank you, Greg Peterson, for inviting me to the interview. And thank you for all your time, Dr. Walton. I mean, honestly, and writing the foreword for my book, and the time we've spent since discussing all these things. And it was kind of your catalyst that allowed me to get like 22 other endorsements. I got way too many endorsements, but as a first-time author, you can't have enough endorsements. And I'm self-publishing, so thank you. I mean, I'm just honored, and everyone that's read the book and given me feedback, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm just honored, and I'm hoping to drive forward with this development in the upper floors of Shawbucks through sharing my story in this book, to build out the Mindful Eatery Project. So the second floor, will be used for entertainment, comedy, bands, and such. And then hopefully during the week, Monday through Thursday, it can be used for experiential learning, whether it's culinary, whether it's lectures, conferences. Jamestown, New York is the #1 place in New York State for conferences, next to New York City, from what I'm hearing in the studies that the Gebby Foundation has been doing. So, I mean, I'd like to entertain that and really work with food, thought, and environment. The third floor I want to use for energy psychology, energy medicine classes. There's a conference room with a table that seats 25 people. It's 11 foot by 20. So we're primed and ready to go. We just need an elevator. So that's expensive. So hopefully the sales from this book will generate enough interest that I can build out the elevator shaft and whatnot. And then the rooftop, I want to do an experiential learning center. I want to promote the farmer's footprint, which is assisting farmers get away from pesticides and all the junk that they're spraying our foods with, to get away from GMOs. It's called regenerative farming, and Chautauqua County is primed for that. And I'd love for Chautauqua County to be a kind of a kiosk for an experiential learning center to learn how to farm better, safer. I think if we meet the basic needs of the people of I think if we first start out meeting the basic needs of the people and planet, we'll all thrive together, and the profits will just come naturally without forcing them. So I look forward to doing another post this week announcing where the book is locally and where you can find it on Amazon. It's coming soon. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. The quote is for the week would be, choose to live to love and love to live. Love you guys.